In this module, you will learn about teaching social studies to young children. Social studies in early childhood education, the topics should be very relevant to the children. You can begin with helping them learn to get along with others, resolve conflicts in the classroom, make friends, and become part of the classroom community. Some of the topics you can study for social studies in early childhood would be an All About Me unit, the children's families, and then their neighborhood, their community, their city, and eventually their state and country. But the closer to home it is for children, the more meaningful it is and the more interested they'll be in the study. The focus should not be on places and times that the child is unfamiliar with. That doesn't mean that you can't answer questions or talk about other places and times, but again, the more closer to home for the child, the more meaningful it is. Having a job chart with responsibilities for children is a good idea in a preschool classroom. This again helps to build that classroom community, that this is where we all learn, we all have jobs to do to keep the classroom running. Children can help create a list of class rules, and if they do, they typically will follow the rules better if they helped to create them, and they typically will list rules that I would have said myself or the teacher would say. So that can be a great way to start out the school year. If they do, we need to make sure that those rules are written in the positive form. So don't tell children what not to do, tell them what to do. So for example, if a child says, "Don't run in the classroom," then the teacher could say, "Great, use walking feet in the classroom." And then that's the way I would write it on the list of rules. As far as planning for social studies, you can think back to the curriculum planning cycle that we discussed earlier in this course, but it should begin with observation and documentation. So of course, when you plan for the first week, you don't know the children yet, but then after that, you can observe them in the classroom, see what their interests are, see what they're curious about, and also what knowledge and skills they have, and maybe where they are missing some skills. When creating the daily schedule, again, we've talked about this throughout the course, but plan for plenty of playtime. This is when children can really practice those social skills that they're going to need to be successful throughout their lives. So if it's a half-day program, then the center time should be at least 45 minutes. If it's a full-day program, it should be at least 60 minutes. And a full-day program usually has playtime more than once throughout the daily schedule. The reason for this is that when preschool children play, it takes a long time for them to decide what they want to play and who they want to play with, and to plan their own play. So they have to decide, if they're doing dramatic play, what the scenario is, who's playing what role, gather the needed materials, and so on. And if you give them, say, 20 or 30 minutes, they maybe have just gotten done with the planning stage and haven't even began playing yet. Materials for social studies in the classroom centers. One idea is to include community helper dress-up clothes. So you could have dress-up clothes for firefighters, police officers, doctors, and so on. Books about the city and the state, multicultural materials as well, but again, those should reflect the children in the classroom. Another idea is to display family photos on a bulletin board or in a family album, because again, social studies starts at home for young children, and this way they can see their own family as well as the families of their classmates. The teacher's role, of course, we've talked about the planning part, but think about ways to build a caring and cooperative classroom community. So that means helping children get to know each other again and make friends at the beginning of the year. Affirm children's home cultures, languages, experiences. Help children learn to be kind and respect one another even if they are different from each other. Build on children's natural interests, just like we talked about with the other curricular areas. And again, allow ample time for play to practice those skills and help them during that time. So again, there are steps to conflict resolution. You can learn more about this in my course, Positive Guidance and Behavior Management. But during that time, if you notice a conflict, then you can step in and help, but allow the children to brainstorm ways to solve the problem, and make sure you allow each child to say what they think the problem is while you work through that. And then as time goes on, maybe you can step back and allow children to take on more and more of that responsibility when resolving conflicts. Social studies is another area that is great for planning field trips. Children learn about the world around them by engaging in the world around them. So obviously, like we talked about, the classroom is a community within itself, but going on field trips and having those firsthand meaningful experiences can be a great way for children to learn social studies topics.